If there's anyone who doesn't know who I am, I'm Mark Ryder, your HOA Board President, and it's my pleasure today to welcome you to our speaker series on golf, a look back and trilogy forward, and to introduce our guest speaker. But before I introduce my friend Ed Smilow, I must let you know that Larry Bohannon, who is the golf writer and columnist for the Desert Sun and who wrote a great article about our golf course resurrection this past summer, unfortunately broke his ankle and is unable to join us today. Aww. So we are in Ed's able and experienced hands. Ed's an attorney whose practice is devoted to the law and liability issues in the game of golf. He's represented golf course owners and operators, golf professionals, and has been the legal counsel to the Professional Golfers Career College. He's also a professor of golf and the law and developed and teaches the only golf law class in the continental United States. He's also a professor of golf psychology. And he's a frequent speaker at industry seminars such as the California Golf Course Owners Association, the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America, the Club Management Association of America, and the Professional Golfers Association. Ed was also a very influential member of our golf course ad hoc committee for the past year and a half, and he's currently the chair of our Golf Club Advisory Committee, providing valuable input and recommendations to the Board of Directors. I know many of you already know Ed, so please join me in welcoming Ed Smilow.
Thank you, Mark. Who is that guy? I'm just a guy who walks around with a golf club all the time. Actually, how many golfers do we have in this room? Wow. How many, more importantly, how many non-golfers do we have in this room? All right. It's important to know. How many of the non-golfers want to become golfers? Well, hopefully we're going to change that today. Hopefully we can. I'm going to put my club down. Just so you know, I mean, you think about all the things you do in your life, and Mark's kind of gone through some of that, but really, I just started in the game when I was 6 years old. And the way I started was I was in my basement in Yonkers, New York, and I ran across this bag and it had a bunch of clubs in it and balls, and I was fascinated by all of these things. And I took one out and I started banging it around, and my mother yelled to me in the basement, said, "Ed, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, you know, I found these things down here." And so my dad came down and he said, "Well, Ed, I guess you're infatuated by this." So he cut down a little 6-iron for me and said, "Instead of banging around in the basement, why don't you go out in the backyard and knock some balls around?" And that's kind of how I started. I became so fascinated by the game that when one of our local public libraries opened, I was 10 years old, and my mom said, "Ed, you know, we're going to go visit a library, and you can take out any book you want." So I wandered around, and I found this book on golf history. It's a great old book on the world of golf and golf history. So I took that book home with me, and I became totally fascinated again by the history of golf. And in the back of the book, they have these pictures of all of these golf courses, all of these drawings of the layout of Augusta National and Pine Valley and all these famous golf courses. And I looked at these maps, and I was just so taken by it. Golf's so fascinating to me, and I've been fascinated since I was 6 years old. Not only in the game, its history, but its layout, its architecture. So much so that, as we all know, we're inspired by somebody. And watching golf on TV, it was Arnold Palmer. It's certainly of our generation, is it not, to have been inspired by Arnie. And of course, on Saturday afternoons in the middle of winter, they're showing celebrity golf and all-star golf and big three golf and all of those sort of things. And golf just became a part of my life ever since I was a young man. Speaking of Arnold Palmer, you know, not only, and I'll say this a little later about his designing, but Arnold Palmer had a golf game. You know, growing up as we did, we didn't have video games, did we? We had board games. And Arnold Palmer had a board game. And that board game had a bunch of posters in it with course layouts and things of holes that he designed. And I would play that game endlessly, to the point that I got so bored with Arnold's layouts that I started to do some of my own. And of course, having a creative mind. I mean, when you start out that early in life, All I needed was a stick and a ball and a place to play, right? We didn't need these fancy games they have now to keep us interested. So for me, I started laying out my own holes and laying out my own way in which a golf course should look like and things like that. So with that in my DNA, when it came to our project here and my life's love of the game of golf and how I've played it my whole life on various levels, it was truly a labor of love to come and share whatever I could with our community. And yes, Mark, it was a long road, 1.5 years, working together, not only in buying it, but renovating it from ground up. Now, our program today, how this started was really simple. Lana Coleman, the newest member of our board, came to me soon after she was appointed and said, Ed, I'd like to get a tour of the golf course. I don't play golf, and I'd like to see what we're dealing with. So I gave her a tour of the golf course, and I started pointing out what I saw out there and why things were the way they were. Why is a bunker here? Why is the green set up this way? How does a golfer go about playing the game? And after doing that for a couple hours with her, she said to me, Ed, you got to do this program. You got to get up in front of everybody and tell them what you know. And so that's kind of the genesis of how this all came about. Now, we did want to have Larry. I did speak to Larry about his program. He was going to come and talk to us about the history of the skins game. And as you know, the skins game was here for many years and really put Trilogy on the map in many ways. Being who he is, he's not only the sports writer for the golf writer for the Desert Sun, but he is a noted author as well. And one of the books that he wrote, and I recommend it to everyone, it's called Palm Springs Golf, A History of Coachella Valley Legends and Fairways. It's a short read, but it's a wonderful read. And although he's not here, I thought I would share with you a few of his words. As many of you know, how many of you have seen the skins game or saw the skins game? How many of you were here when the original skins game was? So you could probably talk more about it than I can. I don't doubt that. And if you want to share at any time, please do. But just to give a brief history, the skins game began in 1982. It was the brainchild of ABC Sports or NBC Sports in saying, we do not have golf in the wintertime. There are no golf tournaments at the wintertime. What if we came up with an event, Thanksgiving weekend, that we could show back east and make it an entertaining experience for our audiences? So, of course, he went out and he got the legends. He got Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino and Tom Watson, Gary Player, and later on others to put on a show. And the whole idea was, and this was revolutionary, what if we mic'd up the golfers? What if we showed them as they were, trash talking with each other or talking about what was going on? And we put it in very much of a gambling type of environment. Many of you may play the skins game here. So you know the format. It's very simple. For those who don't know the format, every hole has a value. All 18 holes would have a value. And back then it was $10,000 for the first 6 holes, $25,000 for the next 6 holes, and $35,000 for the last 6 holes. And if you didn't win a hole, if no one won the hole in the foursome, then it would carry over. So you'd have a tremendous number of carryovers, potentially, excuse me. So a hole could be worth $100,000 or $150,000, and in some cases even more. So to an audience, not only did you have the bantering going on of these 4 great players, hearing what they had to say to each other, but you would also have this gambling thing going on constantly. You'd start rooting for your opponent to tie the other one so there would be a carryover on each other hole. So everyone would be rooting for maybe your worst enemy at some point in time merely because they wanted to have a carryover. So this was a revolutionary thing for the PGA Tour to actually have that type of interesting thing going on, which had never happened before. And in Larry's words, the skins game did more than give Coachella Valley another highly rated television golf event. This was the highest rated golf event in America. It had a greater viewership than the Masters, the US Open, the PGA, or any other great event, or even the Ryder Cup back then. It was a highly rated television golf event showing off the desert, its environment and its sunshine to a country on a cold Thanksgiving weekend. The skins game fundamentally changed the nature of professional golf. Golf truly became entertainment. It wasn't just a bunch of guys walking around a golf course. The golfers were required to become basically performers. And as such, we expected their jokes, we expected their banner, we expected the entertainment value of golf. All right, so with the right format and the right players, it filled a void in the winter of a golf star of fans, and basically back east fans in the cold. The players were required to show off their personalities more than they could at any other time. They could make timely shots for big money. So that was the whole idea behind it. And what I'd like to do is show you one of the iconic moments in the skins game. This was 1987 at our neighbor course over here at PGA West. Let's see if I can get this mouse over there. There it is.
Water everywhere and not a drop to drink. It is the dreaded Island Green, the 17th, and with all of the carryovers, it now is worth $175,000. If you have a good memory, Fuzzy Zeller won 140 here with a 26-foot putt last year. Trevino has the honors since he won the skin at 12.
6 iron, right in line with the flag. Could be stiff.
Pretty shot. It can't get any prettier than that. I said it might be stiff. Hey, Mitch, come in here. Hey, Mitch, Santa Claus is coming to me. It sure is. It's him. It's him, Randy. Nice ball, man. Congratulations.
Nice shot, buddy. Nice putt, shot, hit, whatever it was.
That takes some starch out of that, doesn't it?
Well, it's not over yet. We still have 3 swings, Bob.
Got a good chance. Let her go.
What's going on?
Do you think that practice it didn't pay off? Huh?
Boy, we've had some electrifying moments in the 5 years of the skins, but that takes your breath away.
If you time me, I'll take it, baby.
I know. You hit the shot. I said, good shot, Lee. That's a hell of a shot.
Yeah.
And the ball just, I saw it coming. I said, couldn't believe it.
We're right in the
You can't hit it any better than that, can you?
I mean, it's
That's
dead
good.
as
Nice shot. Well, let's see here, guys.
All right. So you could see, with moments like that, and being able to hear the commentary among everybody, we do not get that today. It's really unfortunate that this form of entertainment did not continue to come forward. But some of you were here. There we go. Let's get this one from the beginning. For this moment.
Mr. Shorty. Mr. Shorty, he wasn't the king at the third hole yesterday, let me tell you. At the third hole, after Tiger Woods had ribbed him all week long about the coming up of the skins game and him playing against Annika from the tee, it finally happened. They only had to wait 3 holes. Annika Sorenstam got it past Fred Funk. Let's have a look at the fun and games.
That's our third hole here.
Brother. Thanks. Shot, Fred.
Thank you.
Thanks.
The dome one.
Yeah.
See all the houses?
shot. That'll be worrying for Fred. Will it turn and run? Oh, it's bounding. Oh, Freddie.
What they play there? South African PGA?
Hello, hello. Could be the drama of the day.
Andy, we need to talk.
This is
Sure.
Yeah?
I mean,
yours. Yours was 271 from the tee. Annika was 278 from the tee. How's that? You're closer to the hole, so I mean, there's some issues
So
here.
there, we have an issue. So we're... Okay, I'm not used to putting these on.
Yeah, right here.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Well,
What do you think, Ty?
honestly, I think it might be a ball. No, make that 2 balls out. Nice line from Tiger Woods.
Lovely.
Certainly got everyone's attention.
Okay. So you could see that the skins game was entertainment. Golf was entertainment. People took to it. And it was because the golfers could be real. The golfers could talk about things and could be real people. And it really, at this time, changed the face of golf. And of course, we were lucky enough to have that skins game here and other skins game as well before the houses were built, and really drove this project and our project and put our Trilogy Golf Course on the map. And in so many ways. And for those of you that were here, I think you were lucky to have had that experience, because we don't have this skins game anymore. Huh? It's coming back. And as Mark said, one of our dreams, if you will, and visions, and we are visionary people. We've been visionary people about bringing our golf course back, and we're visionary people in believing that if we put our effort together, we can bring another skins game event here in some form or fashion. And that's on our agenda, and we do talk about it, don't we, Mark? Certainly do. Okay. So I think it's important that when we look at ourselves, we say, where did we come from and where are we going? And we were lucky enough throughout our project to have some historical overviews of our golf course development that was put together by Blue Star. And I'm trying to think of, no, this one. Let's take a look at where we are. What you're going to see is split screen of different times during our development. I believe the first one was April, and there were 2 others as well. So let's bring this up. April, May, and June. Our project really got underway in April, and you're a reminder of what we were and where we're going. And now that's August. You'll note those sandy areas are our forward tees, and I'll be talking about those in a minute. There's one of those forward tees. I just wanted to point out for a second, you'll see this as we go along, but you see this sandy area here? That's one of our greens. All of our greens had to be redone, or we chose to do it because we wanted uniformity throughout our golf course on our greens. So we redid every one, tearing them down to the sand level and then rebuilding them again. So as you look through these videos, you'll see that not only did we have to redo the fairways and bunkers, and I'll be talking about that, but also the greens. And you can see obviously what we have today, but also how the project unfolded. You see how this green came back to life. Here's hole number 9. It's still not ready to play. Even though you're looking at it, it was not ready to play yet. But it looks a hell of a lot better than it did, doesn't it? All right. Let me get out of there. Okay. Now, later on, when I get done with what I'm about to show you, due to my good friend Dennis shot overhead drone pictures of every hole within the last few weeks. So you'll be able to see the finished product of what we're now playing on. But until we get there, I wanted to point out maybe how I see things, how a golf architect sees things, so that when we're looking at our golf course, we have a good understanding of what the vision was and what the vision is and why we got back to where we are now. There's the iconic Arnold Palmer. One of the books that I read as a kid was a book called My Game and Yours. And in that, I found this quote from Arnold. He says, "What others may see in art museums, I see on golf courses." Arnold was not just a great golfer, but he was a visionary as well. He built over 300 golf courses, along with his partner Ed Smilow around the world and of course in the United States, and even right here in our backyard at the Tradition and over at the Mountain Course as well. He had the ability to see things as an artist would. And from my experience in my life, I don't mind sharing, I grew up learning art. I studied art. I got art lessons as a kid. And my mom would drag me through all kinds of art museums. So I thank her for that, because when I'm looking at the way Arnold was looking at maybe a golf hole, I kind of see it the same way. As we all know, I think when I look at something like that, which is our second hole here, I see a work of art. As in all art, it has perspective, it has movement, it has drama, it has a foreground, it has a background. When a golfer stands on the tee, it's not like they're standing on the baseline of a tennis court. It's not like they're standing there in a batter's box. They have the ability to look at their playing field and be overcome at times by the beauty of exactly where they are. Sometimes I look at these things and I have tears in my eyes, and I do, because as a kid growing up at this time in New York, it'd be 10 below and snow, and here I'm living in this beautiful picturesque valley with the drama of this mountain in the background. And to me, that's a work of art. And we get to play on living art. It's a living, growing thing. And kind of like an avant-garde experience, it's interactive art is really what you're engaged in when you're on a golf course. Kind of like that. Which, of course, we know is our hole out here, our sixth hole, right out back, right out there. Now, just to give you a little bit of history, because I think it's important to understand a little bit of golf architecture to really appreciate our golf course. The very first golf course greenskeeper and course designer was old Tom Morris in St. Andrews. Up to then, golf was played in a public park. It was played out on links land, where it was just totally natural. But in the 1860s, old Tom Morris turned greenskeeping and course design into a profession. And he was called upon to move around Scotland primarily and in England to design courses. And you'll note here that this was one of his layouts, which is in the northern part of Scotland. It's in Royal Dornoch, which was quite a bus ride for me when I took this picture. But you'll see a few features that you will note here, and you will, by noting it, you'll see those same type of features in our golf course. What you'll note is that the greens here were set at plateaus, and they all had runoff. They were also guarded by these type of bunkers that would sit and allow, if you did not reach the green, they were penal in nature, making it difficult for you. And if you didn't hit the ball just right and you hit it too far, you would run off the green down into these depressions. We also was guarded. We had our wonderful acacia. They had their winds, but we got rid of the acacia. Hallelujah. Okay. One of the very first great architects in America was Donald Ross. But Donald Ross, as a kid, worked with old Tom Morris in building Dornoch. Donald Ross was from Dornoch. And he brought with him to America the design features that he saw there, and he applied it in the early 1900s with very minimal earth movement, because they didn't have the type of equipment we have today, or even what we had 50 years ago. So Donald Ross designed, it must have been between 400 and 500 golf courses in America, incorporating the old style designs and natural features he found at his home in Scotland here in the United States. And you can see what happened here. He created golf courses that were enhancing natural golf features using some modern technology. But again, it was very much keeping it on a natural basis. This is a parkland kind of golf course. Tom Morris was famous for his links style, but when you moved inland, we had to carve golf courses out of natural parklands. The father of modern golf architecture, who again learned from Donald Ross in that line, was Robert Trent Jones Sr. He was very famous for taking a piece of land, and as you can see, these are large construction trucks digging out and moving earth to create or recreate, if you will, some of the design features that he studied when he went over to Scotland. He was very much a young man taken by the game. He had a background. He came from East Rochester, New York. He started as a caddy, became a very good player, but soon realized he was never going to be like his hero, Walter Hagen, at the time. And so he went into golf course design. There's a certain number of features that, excuse me, that he incorporated into his designs. The one thing that he did that you'll notice almost on every one of our holes was he created the idea of multiple teeing grounds. How many people in this room know anything about the original rules of golf and the teeing grounds? Anybody? Under the original rules of golf back in 1744, the teeing ground, you teed your ball 2 club lengths from the hole. That's where you teed your ball. After you put the ball in the hole, you mark two club lengths and you tee your ball from there. So you were actually teeing off the greens. Obviously, as play developed, as golf got very, very popular, that was not going to work. So they built teeing grounds just off the greens, flat grounds. But it was only one teeing ground. And that remained so for many, many, many years. Well, Robert Trent Jones designed a lot of resort golf courses in America. And he believed that you had to have multiple teeing grounds to let people of all different caliber and play to be able to play his courses. So they were actually like runways, way in the back and way in the front. It was one continuous teeing ground, but you could have maybe 4 or 5 different places you could tee from with multiple tees. And that was his idea that he incorporated into the architecture in American golf. He was truly an innovator in that way. He also believed in not only what we'll call strategic golf, is where you put your ball as you're playing it around the golf course, but he also believed in incorporating a very old idea of penal golf. One of the first courses that he renovated was Augusta National Golf Club, where they have the Masters. And you'll note that there are many holes there, especially on the back nine, where water comes into play. And his great belief was the more water we have, it will make it more of a challenge because you can't recover from water. You can recover from a bunker, but you can't recover from water. So he started to incorporate water into his shot values. And you'll see this on this design that he came up with. The other thing about Robert Trent Jones was in the placement of his bunkers, he decided that what he wanted to do was give people a route around the golf course. Some people would look at a bunker and on some golf courses and say, well, if I can fly it over this bunker, I can get closer to the hole. Well, on a Robert Trent Jones golf course, usually he put the bunker to say, don't hit it here, which was a different design philosophy. I put the bunker here to guide you to go to either to the left of it or to the right of it, not to try to fly over it, or to give you an aiming point of where you wanted to go. And that was his design philosophy. And as you can see here, if we look at this bunker here, it does you no good if you're teeing off and you hit it over that bunker. There's no reward for it. But he's telling you that maybe this is something you aim at and you work your ball off of. So that was the way that he approached his design on how he was looking at a golf course. Bunkers were there to guide you around the golf course, and water was there to be avoided. Now, Robert Trent Jones elevated golf architecture. Not only was it just a golfer who was laying out a golf course. Back in the old days, to lay out a golf course, you'd go to one spot, you'd look, find the flat area, that'd be your green. You find another flat area to tee off from, and that would be your tee. And they'd lay out markers as they went along. And they'd take the land as they found it. Robert Trent Jones elevated golf architecture and design into a profession. And to do that, he went to Cornell University, which is my alma mater, by the way. That's why I put it in red. And he began to study. Now, there was no degree program in golf architecture back then. So, lucky enough, the dean of the School of Agriculture said, well, let's see if we can set up a program of study for you. So he studied agronomy, turf management. He studied botany, the study of plants. He studied dendrology, the study of trees. Of course, he was studying ecology, a relationship of living things. He also studied pedology, which was soils. He had to go to the School of Engineering to study civil engineering. He went to the art school to study art and drawing, to give him a sense of perspective and composition and line so he could draw these things out. He studied landscape architecture, color and texture of interacting with nature, of how it would appear to someone who was on a golf course, the way it would look. And he had to study, of course, hydrology or water management. That is getting just the right chemistry in the water and just the right amount at just the right time in the right location to grow a golf course out of nothing. He became a student of the game of golf, as I said. He started playing golf at a young age. He studied the history of the game of golf. Again, looking at golf courses all around the world to see where they were played and the shot values that were required. He studied the rules of the game. Of course, you have to know that if you're going to lay out a golf course. He studied how the game was played at all levels, because his golf courses that he built, he wanted to be accessible to people of all backgrounds and all abilities. And again, he had to look at the future of golf. You may have a golf course today, but with modern technology, with new clubs, with new balls, how could we continue to play it effectively in the future? So again, he had to look at that, and again, he had to be an advocate for the game of golf. And in 1947, he was one of the founding members, along with this fellow who was Donald Ross, of the American Society of Golf Course Architects. These were the professionals, and that profession basically began in 1947. Today, that group has over 100 members. And you see they're all very proud of their plaid jackets. And if there is one group and to become a member of the group, you have to be elected by the others. So it's not just that you serve a certain format. The others have to agree that you are a true professional, that you've done a number of golf courses, and that you are successful in what you're doing. And the reason I've been saying all this is because this is our golf architect, Gary Panks. He became a member of the American Society of Golf Course Architects, respected by his peers, satisfying their needs. He went to Michigan State. He got a BS degree in 1964 in landscape architecture. But not only that, he was a golfer, so he could combine his two loves, his playing ability as well as his ability to design. But he didn't stop there. He knew that he had to partner with a great player, because a great golfer, just like an Arnold Palmer, will see a golf course from a player's eye. He'll look at it for its shot values. He'll see where would a golfer play this shot? Where would a golfer play that shot? So he partnered with U.S. Open champ David Graham in his company to do that. The fellow that we brought back to help us with our project was Gary Brawley. Gary Brawley was Gary Panks' right-hand man for some time. He was a graduate of Colorado State University, where he had a BS in landscape architecture. He worked for Wadsworth Golf Construction. Now, that's a civil engineering firm that's built over 1,000 courses in the United States. So he had quite a background and experience in not only designing a golf course, but how it should be built. And as I said, he was with Gary Panks Design. He went on with another company called Tripp Davis, and then he started his own group in 2015. And he, like all the others, is very proud of his plaid jacket. We were fortunate, we were so fortunate to have him come here. I've had the privilege of spending time with Gary, and one of the things he told me, and it resonated with me, was Gary Panks recently passed away. But before he died, he said to Gary, would you please bring the Trilogy Golf Course back to the way that I built it? And Gary, out of his labor of love, has said, yes, I'll do that. And as you know, he traveled back and forth from Arizona so many times to come out and work with the crew out here to lay it out what had to be done, which included restoring our greens back to their original size and their original slopes, reworking all of our bunkers and getting them back to the shape they should be in, and actually making his own suggestions and putting his own mark on that, as well as being forward enough in thinking to say, let's build forward tees. There's a movement in the United States to make golf more accessible to everybody. The USGA is really supporting that right now. And Gary said, I'll design a set of tees so we can play at a shorter yardage, at 4,200 yards, so that beginners, people with challenges can get out and play this magnificent golf course. And that's what we've done. All right, now before we get to our slides in our video that Dennis has put together for us, I want you to be able to look at it again with an architect's eye and an architect's philosophy of what does make a great golf course. I believe this is a great golf course, and you'll understand why as I go through this. The ingredients that make a great golf course are, and this is first priority, beauty, interest, and playability. Is it appealing to the eye of the golfer? Is it appealing to the eye of everybody? Can you just stand, for example, out on our second hole, look across those lakes, see our majestic mountains, and say, man, this is a beautiful place? Beauty, interest. Will it keep your interest throughout 18 holes? Are you still engaged with the game of golf because it's an interesting thing? It's not just back and forth. Again, it's not a tennis court, it's not a baseball field. Does it hold your interest throughout? And is it playable? Does it have great shot values? I'm reminded of the building of Augusta National Golf Club, the Masters. And there's pictures of Bobby Jones out there in the middle of construction zone hitting golf shots, saying, no, this is where the tee belongs. No, this is where the green should be. With the builders and the architect, who is Alistair McKenzie. The same is true here. When a good architect goes out and he stands in the middle of his hole, he's saying, what would a golfer have to play here? Where's the problem? And where are the type of shots he'd have to play to be successful? In the modern era, to be a great golf course, we must have a flow. Can we move our golfers around at an appropriate pace? Right now, the biggest bugaboo we have in golf, and it's been that way for many years, is slow play. You can go over to PGA West Stadium course, and if you're not at the caliber of the level of those players, you can spend 8 hours trying to get around that golf course if you're counting every stroke. And then you're not throwing the ball out of bunkers because they're so deep. And luckily, they cut the rough down there, because if they hadn't cut the rough during the summertime, you'd spend forever trying to find your golf ball. Here, we've done our studies. You can play this golf course in 4 hours. or less. That's flow. That means golfers are moving through the golf course, means we can put a lot of golfers out there of all levels and abilities and still get around this golf course in the right amount of time. And again, is it accessible to all golfers regardless of their skill level? And does it then reflect the philosophy and the psychology of the golf architect? Every architect, like every artist, wants to sign their name and say, this is my masterpiece. This is what I've created. And what you're really getting are 18 separate paintings, if you will, or 18 separate works of art that all tie together in some interesting way to allow a flow throughout. So it truly is a profession and should be regarded as such. Now, for our golfers out there, the real opponent in golf is the architect. Not the person you're playing against, and maybe not even yourself, but it's the architect and designer who has laid the golf course out in a way to challenge you. The superintendent and the director of golf lay out the teeing grounds, and they lay out where the pin is placed on a daily basis. And the architect has created multiple places for that to be placed on any given day. Again, to our amateur golfing friends, the first question you should always ask when you're on the teeing ground is, where did they put the pin? Where is the pin for today? Because if you're not playing that game, then it's like a game of chess. If you don't know where the king is, how are you ever going to capture it? King could be on the left or the right of the board, and that will determine how, in fact, you play. All right? The real opponent is the architect who delivers a design philosophy of strategic and opinal features to be dealt with. And it's the job of the golfer to adapt, improvise, and overcome or pay the price. Variation, the best golf courses force the golfer to use every club in the bag at some time. And this course does that. That's why I call this a great golf course. It's like a chess match between you and the architect. 18 different games of chess played between the golfer and the golf course minds that created and maintain it. And you can see they're all in squares. Golf architect will look at all the slopes that are put out here. This ground out here was once flat. It's desert, flatland. Someone had to come up with the mind to say, no, we're going to have a slope here, we're going to have a slope there, we're going to have a rise here and a rise there, we're going to create a plateau for the green, we're going to create a plateau for the teeing ground. This is all coming out of somebody's mind, maybe on a computer or a grid. And what reminded me of this was when I looked at Gary Brawley laying out a green. And you'll notice, and I don't know if you can all see this, but this is done in a 3-foot grid. And each spot has a value which tells the story of the slopes of that green at every 3-foot square segment. And it's your job when you go out there without a map and without a grid to figure out where those slopes are. And he kind of did the same in the fairways when looking at it, saying, well, if I have a downhill lie on this particular hole, how do I hit it to this spot with the green sloping in that way? It's truly a science. It's truly an art form, if you will. But that's the role of a golf course. Okay. So, why don't you get yourselves ready up and set up? And at this moment, before we go through the golf course itself, does anyone have any questions? I've been talking a while, and I know I'm a lawyer and I can stand up here forever, but believe me.
Is it their intention to continue to oversee clear up to the curb, or are they going to leave some rough dormant in the future?
Well, that's a good question for Blue Star. I think they certainly this year they wanted to do that. It reveals our course better. One of the features that we have, as you know, and we insisted on it, was that the rough be cut to a suitable level. The rough, in the past, had been 3 or 4 inches at times, and it took you 10 minutes to find your ball if you missed the fairway. So we wanted to continue that on. I think in the future, the real question comes down to practicality.
Expense.
Exactly. There is an expense to it, not for the water and the mowing, labor, but also government regulation. If we find ourselves in a deep drought condition, I think we're going to have to either do turf reduction or we're going to have to stop overseeding to some degree. Luckily, this past year, we did not face either of those challenges. We were not being regulated on that. So as we look forward, that'll be a decision that'll have to be made. Yes, in the back.
Can you summarize what they did to the greens to prevent any ball marks? There are no ball marks on the greens. What did they do?
Well, number one, we decided to overseed, or reseed rather, our greens with a grass called mini verde. And a mini verde grass is very tight, thin, small leaf. That's one. Number two, the fact that they're new means we don't have a lot of turf built up. So when you're hitting into them right now, it's rather firm because it's sitting more on the bed of sand. So really, that's probably the 2 reasons why. Now, as they grow and they develop, you probably won't see much either because of the type of grass we've used. But you will notice that if you hit the right shot, they will hold, they will spin. They are firm, but they will hold. But it's due to the type of grass and the fact that they're new. And we don't want, I think it's better now than seeing a whole bunch of people not fix their pitch marks than what we have now. Did I lose Dennis? Yes, sir.
Oh, I just confirmed that we're going to put a skins game exhibit back in our clubhouse lobby.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
I'm so pleased by that. I know Mark was going to reframe those pictures for us, which I'm sure he will, and then we'll have that there. I forgot to ask Martha to bring out the Skins Game trophy. And I know it's sitting in her office probably somewhere. Please do. Please do. Thank you, because it's a nice piece of crystal. When I first got here, I've been here 13 years now, I went into the clubhouse up there, and I was looking around, because from my background, I did a bit of merchandising at my own pro shop, and I said, where's the Skins Game trophy? Why isn't it placed in a prominent position? And the owner at the time had put it in a cabinet on the bottom of some back shelf somewhere and hadn't brought it out. So I was so glad that we did find it, and that now it'll be something which is very, very special, as you know. A great piece of crystal. Yes?
Yeah, speaking of the Skins Game, what elements go into the decision-making process of where it'll be held on Thanksgiving?
Mark, you want to answer that for Mark Melito of our group? But I think it's money, and it's time availability of the players. The PGA Tour, fortunately or unfortunately, no matter how you look at it, as I said before, we used to have this off-season. It began in January out here in the desert, and then moved to Arizona, and then moved the southern way until it came all the way on up from Florida, eventually to the Masters in April. And then from there it moved north. But the tour was over in August. The PGA Championship in August was the last event. So you had this whole September, October, November, and December that was open to do all kinds of things. And for the pros, they could even get a second job because they needed it. And back then. So now the PGA Tour is running at 12 months a year. So where do you fit in an event like this? Where do you get the people that'll have the time to come over and in their schedule that they're laying out a year in advance? And then where will the money come from? As I said back then, and even when I look at it, it used to be big money for the skins game, right? Annika, hole number 9, back, I guess it was 2000, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2005, I think she sunk a 40-yard bunker shot on hole number 9 on the bunker on the right side, for you golfers who know it, for $175,000. Yes?
I'm just going to add to that, Ed, since we were there. It was really our hole number 18, but they had reversed the holes. So she was playing it as hole number 9 when she chipped it in, but it was hole number 18.
Yeah, thank you for that.
You're welcome. And
$175,000. Well, that was huge money back then. $175,000 is not apparently huge money anymore on the PGA Tour. It's just not. So what kind of money could they put up in skins? $100,000 a hole? $50,000 a hole? How much money? And then who's going to be the sponsor? Finding sponsors to do this. And then you've got to find a place that's willing to host it. You know, the major championships are usually at private clubs. And the reason is their members want the prestige, and they're willing to give up the weeks or 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time of play to lay the course out. And I look at the golfers here and I say, well, members of the men's club, members of the 9-hole club, women's loosey-gooseys, are you willing to give up 2 weeks of golf to allow an event like this to come in with no revenue to us to host this type of an event? And so those are the challenges, Henry, that we have as we look forward to these sort of things. But we're not giving up, right, Mark? No. We're going to try to make it happen in some form or fashion. Anybody else?
I think you can share with them, Ed, where we're headed with that ability to get more play out here with either the lesser level of the professional level, senior tour, and we're working at it. It just takes a little time, and we're gonna get there.
Absolutely. I think especially the way I am about the game of golf and being much of a historian. I mean, I went to and I'm not putting anybody down, believe me, but I went to the American Express tournament. And how many of you went over there or worked it? There you go. And I watched these guys walk around like automatons. I mean, the crowd would yell at them, hey, Ricky, or something else. And you would get a tip of a cap. You would get no response from them at all. And you just say to yourself, well, who's paying their bills? But the fans that are out here, those on TV, you know, where's the excitement? I can remember yelling to Arnold Palmer across a fairway. He was walking down maybe 100 yards from me and yelling out, hey, Arnie. And he turned around and he smiled and tipped his cap and everything else. Or Chichi Rodriguez or Lee Trevino would come up to you in the crowd and bum a cigarette from you or something else and say something nice. There was repartee. I don't see this out of these young people. Maybe it's just they're into the money so much. So as we look ahead, we really would like to bring a senior skins here. We would like to bring maybe a Legends event, if you will, or a senior women's event or whatever it is, because I just think that we'd be more comfortable in dealing with people that really care about their fans. And fortunate for us, we have many of them that live out here now, that are either associated with clubs or teaching or whatever it is. And perhaps we can do that, Mark. I know that Mark has some connections with the senior tour, and they don't play as many events as the regular tour does, and maybe we can find some time in between that on a Monday or a Tuesday and bring them out. So those are the things we're working on. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. All these people have engagements. They have agents and managers who are booking out all their times anyway, but let's see what we can do with that. Dennis, are we ready? let's go. Let's see our golf course now. Let's see what it looks like now. And I'll try to point out the work that was done. These are stills from Gary Brawley. One of the things that Gary was keen on, since we're 20 years past, was to look at the trees that we have out here. To say what are necessary, what are overgrown, how are these trees affecting some greens, for example, because of the shade that they were providing and not doing the thing it needs to do for the health of the golf course. So you'll see these red spots, and these relate to the removal of trees. On the first hole, you'll notice, if you played the golf course before or you just happen to drive by, some of the trees at the back have been removed. And that's because they were putting too much shade on that first green early morning, creating a frost problem for us. So we wanted to make it more playable and open the golf course. So we've removed some of these trees along the way. Okay? Here's our first hole. You'll see, again, the idea of the multiple tees that I was talking about, Robert Trent Jones' idea. Let's have multiple teeing grounds. We've added a forward one way up here, okay, which is somewhat of taking away almost 100 yards from the back tees so that people can get out and play at all levels. This hole starts out as what you might consider rather benign. That's fine. It's an open area. There aren't bunkers in the way. And of course, it plays as a short par 4. The whole idea here is, let's move golfers off that first hole. If they're all getting in trouble along the way, it's just going to slow everybody down from the get-go. So the idea was let's have a little challenging hole, make it a little narrower, you can see undulations that are moving here, so we're not going to get always perfect lies in the fairway. So there is some interest. But let's move people off that first hole, get them to the second, and keep the flow of this golf course getting off to a good start. And of course, if you're not seeing these beautiful, majestic mountains as you're going, you're missing everything. All right, let's stop up here at the green. Right away, if you had that watchful eye, you'd notice this is a Donald Ross green. Why is it a Donald Ross green? Because if you hit your ball here, it's going to roll off the green to that side. Okay? If you hit it on this side, it's going to roll off to that side. So although the green might be large, it still is undulating and has a fall off as you go along. It's the signal of his golf philosophy, Gary Panks, to say, these greens are going to be a challenge for you. You may think you can get there, but once you get there, you're going to have sloping greens, runoffs on either side, and it's not as simple as you think. Okay. Hole number 2. Again, we're removing trees that are unnecessary to the project. This hole is laid out, again, with multiple teeing grounds all the way on up to here. Golfers at all levels can play. If you're going to play skins and you're way back here, you're going to have to hit it over the water. Otherwise, you can avoid it. So it's playable for everyone. This particular bunker, again, in my opinion, you can see that this is rough all around it. That's Robert Trent Jones. He's saying, don't hit it over here. Don't try to fly the bunker. If you do, you're still going to be in the rough. The whole idea is to point you over to the left side. And you can see the bunker that's sitting there. It says, no, don't go over here. Go over there. Okay. Again, a wide area to play. You can play short or play to the left. There's plenty of room. But now we're going to start to have to hit a good second shot because I've added a bunker here, which is pushing you back and away from it. And stop right there. Again, our runoff. Your back, side, and whatever it is. And I've given you 1, 2, and 3 positions to put the flag. So if you're on the left side, you're either going to have to try to fly this in a penal way, because if you miss, you're in the deep bunker. If you're more strategic, you'll play to this side and putt to there, or if it's in the front, that's an easier pin position. But again, if you don't go far enough, you're going to find yourself back at the bottom because there's a runoff. And that's how this hole plays. Hole number 3. That's the hole I live on. I'm so glad I'm on this side and not that side where everybody slices the ball. Hey, I made sure that I was far enough off the tee that I only got 2 balls a year in my backyard. Ken, you may get 3 or 4 more because you're closer. There you go. Now, again, the idea here for the thinking, again, if you were Robert Trent Jones, which Gary learned from, I've got a couple bunkers here that are aiming bunkers. Excuse me. Gary decided to take this bunker out. We had a big discussion about that, he and I. But he decided to take it out. He said, well, you know, if you're not that long off the tee and you're slicing the ball, we do not want to slow this golf course down. So we'll give you a grass bunker over there to make it easier to move your second shot. If you're a long hitter and you're challenging the right side, that bunker's still deep there for you and could cause you a problem. So we left the one for the real strong player, but for maybe a little weaker player, we took this out and made it a grass bunker. And that was a design decision based on playability. But again, on the tee visually, and again, I have a little issue with this, and we talked about it again. These tees are pointed right at my house. I said, why in the world would you put the tee so they're pointed at my house? Well, Ed, most people slice the ball anyway, so you don't really have to worry about it. So anyway, the whole fairway, you'll notice when we show the slide, slopes from this side to that side. So to really play the hole, you have to hug the right side of the fairway, and it'll kick back down to the left. If you go down the left and pull your shot, you're going to be in the rough with the trees. We did remove a few trees because they were unnecessary. They were growing into each other, so they were taken out. We also rebuilt both of these bunkers to make them a little bit more playable, and the green was put back to its original large size, which is an interesting feature because on most par 5s, the third shot is played to a small green, not to a large green. But in this philosophy of a more resort-style golf course, we kept a large green there for everyone to be able to play to. Go ahead, Dennis. You can see how it slopes from right to left, how we've taken the bunker that was once here out, but has not changed the beauty of the hole in any way. I wish I could get more players to play back so that would play in play, because some strong players will hit it here and then slow down play by trying to hit it with their second shot. Stop it there. Just from an architectural standpoint, in order to discourage people from trying to hit the green in 2, this bunker was placed here. The toughest shot in golf is a long bunker shot. And this would be about 40 yards from here to the back of the green. If you're going to challenge this hole, you better hit a good shot, because if you pull it left, you're going to be in this bunker. And if you slice it a little bit, you're going to be in this very large, deep bunker. So the whole idea was, can we keep the golfers having to hit this shot to an actually elevated green? And when I go out and check divots, and I'm out there more times than not, this is the area where I find all the divots. And that's intentional, because we want people to challenge themselves in their short game to be able to play to an elevated green where they really could not see the flagstick, because there is quite a rise. You can't quite see it in this picture, but there really is quite a rise, and this is quite a big green. Hole number 4. Very interesting hole and very different, because it can put you a little bit asleep, because there are no bunkers in the fairway and there are no bunkers around the green. But it is a long hole. It plays over 400 yards for the back tees, and there's quite a rise up to the top of a hill. which forms a plateau about 200 yards out from the green. When you get over the hill, what happens is you get a downhill lie. And trying to hit a downhill lie shot to a green that's 180, 190 yards away can be quite a challenge. There's also many ridges that exist at the bottom of the hill and only a small plateau to play from about 150 yards. So let's show the hole. You can see here's the rise to the top of the plateau, which exists right there.
Most people hit to the wall.
They hit it to the wall, right, because they're trying to avoid these trees for a second shot. Stop right there. This is the top of the hill, which is quite a rise from the tee. Most people will wind up in this area having a very long shot to this hole. No trouble, but demanding shot nonetheless. If we had bunkers there, it'd be impossible. So there are no bunkers. This is a downhill to this one little plateau right in here. Otherwise, you'll be down, and these trees will come into play. Now, right over here, let's stop it right there. That was Mark's tree, Mark Ryder's tree. It was a big, big tree that sat on this side of the green and was always in the way. So we took that out from Mark, didn't we? Indeed. This is quite a runoff again, that old Dornick feature that I spoke about. We got a great runoff here, a great runoff to that side, a great runoff to the front, to a very large green that sits up here. Very easy to three-putt these greens because they can have a 60-foot putt really easily. Beautiful. Hole 5. Hole 5 used to have 3 bunkers on the right. And for Gary Brawley, he said it didn't make much sense to him at all. So what he did was he expanded the upper bunker and took these short bunkers out. Still giving you the same playability, but saving really on maintenance because you got to send crews out there all the time to maintain these bunkers. So when you have one big one, it's a lot easier to do than 3 small ones. So it just made a lot of sense to take that out. He also removed a number of trees. You'll see the red dots. Mark, was there about 75 we took out in total?
Trees?
Yes. 75 trees were removed, which means less cost for maintenance, less tree trimming, and it did not alter in any way the way the course was playing, except for Mark's trees on the last hole. Okay. Go ahead now. This is what it looks like when you're teeing off. Again, these multiple teeing grounds from up here or way back where we started. Trying to fit your tee shot by this one on the right, challenging the one on the left. Now, this hole was called the Redan hole. And this is why I keep bringing back golf history. The Redan hole was actually a par 3 hole in North Berwick, Scotland. It was the 15th. And what made it famous, and it's been used by golf designers all over the world and all over this country, is that the green slopes the wrong way. It slopes from this side down to the left and away. Because of that, and this bunker here, it's very challenging to try to fit your ball onto that green. If you hit your ball onto the middle, it will run off to the left. And as you pointed out before how firm these greens are, it makes it even more challenging. From an architectural standpoint, it says if you actually do challenge this bunker and hit it over here, you're going to have a most difficult shot trying to hit it in. Because you've got to fly this large bunker, and even if you do, it's going to run off to the left. What they did create, though, was an aiming bunker. Gary Panks gave you an aiming bunker. So on the teeing ground, the right shot to play, unless you can really fit it in with a nice big fade and put it up in this area here, go ahead and hit it behind this bunker, because then you're going to be on the left side and can play down this way to the hole. Again, the chess match, the way he's looking at it. How do I put my ball in a position to approach this green? How do I play one shot that builds on the next? And that's the playing strategy that he's trying to create. Too often you'll find that people play from maybe the wrong set of tees and never have that challenge. But that's the way it was designed to be, with the green falling this way into that gully with the runoff. All right, hole number 6, the one right out here. Again, we removed trees to try to open up this green a little bit. This is what I call a let-up hole. This is one of the shortest golf holes we have. It has a very large green, and it has a very forgiving mound on the left. If you hit it just right, it'll kick yourself right down in the middle of the hole. That's exactly what it was, and it was intended to keep the flow going. How do we keep people moving around this golf course? And take a little of the pressure off the last 2 holes where you just double bogeyed because they got in the way, right? They're tough holes. So let's give them an easy one. Let's move this away. Let's give them a little less tension, and let's just have them on these multiple tees. Pick one that you can easily knock onto this green. And as you can see, it's wide open. Again, if you're still in the challenge mode and you want to, with a pin on the right, you want to take on this water, especially if you try to play a little draw. Okay, but it's not the shot. Go ahead. And that's our beautiful clubhouse overlooking this lake. Of course, we took out Mickey Mouse bunker over here. If you remember that, it looked like it had ears in the whole 9 yards. It really didn't come into play. I think that was an add-on, came from the original owner, original builder, who said, wouldn't it be nice if we're sitting out here on our deck and we all looked over here at this hole and there was a bunker there? It had nothing to do with playing the game. It was merely ornamental, if you will. And so that was taken out, again, because it just adds to the cost. This is a saving bunker, by the way. The one in the back is a saving bunker. If you take on the hole and you hit it too far, rather than go in the water, they give you a little bunker to play out of. So it was actually a saving bunker. Hole number 7. This, go ahead, as soon as you can. This, to me, if we had an iconic hole, if we had a hole that we had to point out that's the most beautiful hole on a golf course, this would be it. And the reason is because it's surrounded up in here by a beautiful vista of mountains all the way around us. Again, in Gary Brawley's wisdom, he decided to take this bunker out. There was really no need for it. Again, for the weaker player, why are we slowing down play by having them force these shots out of bunkers? Again, we have our 2-bunker system. And again, 2 bunkers here. The challenge, again, as I said, is do you know where the pin is when you stand on the tee? The reason for that is this particular green slopes this way to the back. Again, just like the Redan hole went across and down into the gully, this one from this side slopes directly from the front to the back. On this side, it's quite wide and quite deep. And the only way you can get to it would be from this side playing in, and on that side playing this way. If you hit it in the middle, the safest shot is just put it in the middle of the green and putt one way or the other. But from a strategic standpoint, again, it's a short par 4, but the idea is let's force the golfer to choose a side. Is he going to be on the left or be on the right? And if he is on the wrong side, then you better be thinking a little bit conservatively in terms of how they play, because otherwise they'll be in trouble. These bunkers are no real fun to play out of, and if you're trying to play out of this bunker on a downhill lie, it'll run over the green every time, unless you're an expert bunker player. So let's start it out. Again, there's plenty of room to hit your tee shot. This fellow on the left would make it easy to hit it on this side. But if the pin is back right, good luck. Stop it right there for a second. This whole area, by the way, was weeds when we started. We had the biggest area you could imagine of non-grass weeds. That whole area was resodded. Entirely, it was almost an acre worth of sod we had to put out there to redo this fairway. And when you look at it now, you'd never know it. Beautiful hole. It also has the largest green on the golf course. From here to there is 120 feet across. And you can see how they slopes and bevels in the middle. Hole number 8. When you get to hole number 11, it's called the Little Devil. This is the Big Devil. And aptly named. From the back, it plays from, what, about 225 yards? From the front, it's only about 140 yards. This little bunker here causes more havoc for people than you might imagine. It's a pain in the ass, right? That's what I heard. And there's a reason for it, because it is so small. When you see this hole, you're playing downhill to the hole, but there's a dramatic slope right over here. Dramatic slope. When it's playing in the front, it's rather benign, as long as you don't leave it on either side, because it's only a short area. The green is really large back here, which begs the player to say, take enough club. Just take enough club and knock it over that little bunker. If you have to chip back or play back to the hole, that's fine. But so many people leave it short, and they just do not take the right club. Go ahead and show it. Playing downhill, but actually to a rising green. And you can see the big gully and slope on the right side. It's really a challenging hole when that pin is back where it is. It's almost 3 holes in one or more. 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4. Hole number 9. Okay. If you've had enough of 1 through 8, this is the hole to let it go. This fairway is like 60 yards wide. Okay? It's more typical of an Arnold Palmer hole than anything, where he liked to get up and just let it go. You can, unless you're living over here, and it's really a long way, you're not going to get too many golf. Anyone live on hole number 9 here? Good. Okay. This is where people just want to let the shaft out and just let that ball fly as far as it can. All right. But after you've gotten out all that angst that you've had for the first 8 holes, we're going to bring you back to reality, because down here is a lake, okay? And the architect is begging you, just lay up short of it, would you please? You do not have to challenge the hole. But the ego of the player will say, no, I'm going to try to do this. And they wind up trying to whack the ball up in here. That's Annika's bunker that we talked about, which is about 40 yards short of that hole. All right, let's show it. You can see how the lake comes in on the second shot, which asks you to lay it up. But some people try to fit it right into this neck. That's a saving bunker, in that if you're short, it's not going to run into the water. That's really an aiming bunker for your second shot, because the safe shot is to hit it into here and leave it with just enough club. There's a slope down, so it'll kick it back into the fairway. We took out a big tree that was sitting over here at one time, which really served no purpose. But that was one that was removed. Again, a big, large green. All right, we're starting on the back 9. You want to take a break and use the restroom? There's one down there at the bottom of that hill. It has water fountain there too, okay? One day we'll have a way to get some food down there and some beverage, but right now we're on to the back 9, because we're only a 4-hour round, right? We can survive. Okay. Here we go. I didn't mean literally to leave. There we go. You can see again the multiple tees, the design feature. We removed a few of the trees on the left side, because really the only way to play this hole is to come up the left side and not challenge these bunkers on the right. We did remove a bunker in the front. The idea was, let's give the players a chance that if they miss and it comes down, that they're not going to wind up in a bunker every time. So Gary enlarged this bunker, actually made it 2 in the back, and took this one out. Okay? Dennis, thank you. And you can see how now the hole is more open in here. We also took out growth that was in there as well, that was a bunch of weeds and what have you. Served no purpose. Again, a dramatic golf hole. This is the Little Devil. You could see how many trees we took out to try to open this up to make it a little bit more playable. It plays anywhere from, about 80 yards from the very front, 89, and on the back about 140 yards. It's a little hole. Why we call it the Little Devil is because right in the middle it's bisected. So if you hit it just to the right, it'll run down to a lower section and maybe even down the hill. There's a hump, if you will, right about here where my pointer is. So if you go up over it, it'll push down into this area, which actually breaks that way and for the putter. And if you put the pin in the front, you're challenging both of these bunkers. And that's the Little Devil. As you can see, the lower area here and the mound over here. Hole 12, wonderful golf hole. Again, this is what we call a shortish par 4 with multiple teeing grounds. We've taken out this left bunker here and only given you this one over here. Again, to make it easier for the players that play a little shorter than not. This here is really what we call an aiming bunker again. The idea is to hit your ball at that bunker and leave it just short to give yourself a pitch onto a multi-tiered or multi-spotted green. The architect decided not to keep a bunker by the green, just to give you a grass runoff, a matter of variety, and to lay it out as such. And again, you can see we've removed unnecessary trees from the property. Go ahead, Dennis. Again, the aiming bunker, the whole fairway goes this way, so if you aim here, your ball will come back to the middle. And the beautiful vista of the mountains behind again. They're breathtaking, really. Okay. Our wonderful double pond. I remember one of the first speaker series I was at one recently, or not that recently, but it was about the bird life here. Do you remember that? Well, I found in one of my journeys, there was, right in here, there was a family of blue-billed ducks, of all things. Just amazing. This is a giant lake. It's a double lake. It serves the 16th hole and the 13th hole. Just filled with wildlife. This is our biggest expanse I think we have among homes here in the valley. I won't mention that we took out all the acacia we possibly can. But this one area in here, we're considering as an area for monarch butterflies, as a refuge on their travels. It was a large enough area, it's not being used, it's away from the public, from people, and we thought that would be a good spot. This was a tremendous restoration job that was done. This area was just in an impossible state. So I tip my hat. Again, all the trees that were taken out to open up this hole. The challenge of the hole, of course, is now we've entered the penal question of water. This is the first one off the tee we really have where the idea of a penal golf course comes in with water on the right. The green is elevated, presents a very challenging shot, and by the time you reach this hole, the architect is telling you, you better have your game. You can see how it pinches in at the end. It gets more narrow the further you try to take this hole on. This is basically the hitting area, but it's going to leave you a strong uphill shot to a green, which could require 2 or 3 more clubs than you really think. large bunkers on the left. There is a bailout iron on the right, so if you got a good short game and you can put it in here, you can par this hole. Trouble on that hole is long. If you go long, you're going to go down a deep slope and pitch to a green that's difficult hole. It's one of my favorite out there. Okay, he's giving you that long par 4 again, or one that plays really long. This one plays short. We took out a lot of trees on the right side. Okay, but I think they did it in a good way, leaving enough trees that these houses will not be bombed by the slicers. You live on a golf course, those are risks. But in any event, we had a need to trim these because they were all growing together. After 20 years, this whole area was very, very overgrown. This is an aiming bunker. Usually doesn't come into play for most players. If they're playing from the right tee, they can clear that bunker and wind up in this spot. If they pull it left, they're down in a deep gully. This is also an aiming bunker, which very few people reach. So the key is to aim at this one, knock it past that one, and leave yourself a short pitch in. There's the center of the fairway. That's the garden spot. Now this, because it's a short par 4, this is the smallest green that I can recall on the back 9. And it's angled in this direction, protected, again, by this longish bunker, with the runoffs on all sides. All right, we're getting to hole 15. Now, again, I had a little debate with Mr. Brawley, my good friend Gary. This hole, again, because I know Gary Panks was a student of history, is reminiscent of the Scottish idea of cross bunkering. The whole idea of a cross bunker is to give an image to the player that the green is right behind it. That if you just fly it over the bunkers, you'll be on the green. But that's not true. But that's the design feature, I guess you'd call it camouflage, that was added. Now, Gary decided to take this bunker out to give the golfer a break. To say, well, okay, if you're not going for the green anyway, we'll take this bunker off, and you can pitch it down here and then have a shot back up at the green. We also removed trees down the right side. I think this one was taken out. And trees down the left for the health of the whole area. But you can see the cross bunkering idea that comes out here. You see it elevated, but when you're down in this area, this green is above you, and you really can't see the flagstick. Well, you can see the stick, but maybe the top of it, because there's quite a rise up to the hole. And again, it's a very large bunker. He also added this bunker in the back. For championship play, I would say more than not. I haven't seen the pin back here. Mark, have you seen the pin back there very much? Every few days. So with it back here, this bunker could come in play. But otherwise, most of the play is in this front area. And there are various ways that you'll have to learn to pitch the ball to get the ball close to this large area. And it slopes from here down and away. Okay. Many a time you'll find you get to the last 3 holes. The last 3 holes to me is the key to scoring on this golf course. You got 2 par 5s, which are birdieable holes. And you've got a par 3 that there's no bailout. You have to hit over the water. So you may have a great score and come here and challenge these holes and wind up way over where you think you're going to be. Or you may come here with the challenge in mind, got your game together, and begin to attack these holes. And if you can do that, you can shoot a real good score. But the key to this golf course, in my opinion, are the 2 par 5s separated by a par 3. Okay. Let's lay it out. Here, again, if you fly this bunker, you're going to be in the rough. Over here, we got an aiming bunker on the right. Very few people can really reach that. So from the teeing ground, which is uphill, people will aim at that bunker. That gives them, again, a second shot straight down the line to the hole. straight down the line to the hole. We have bunkers along here to save you from going in the water. We go right ahead. That's fine. Thank you, Dennis. So we aim our ball down the right side, and then we hit it down the alley to the left. We do have saving bunkers, as I said, by the water, and then we have this little devil of a bunker over here. If you miss your little approach shot, you're going to have to play a little bunker shot back on. But it's not a bad, and it's not a severe bunker. Hole 17. Okay, now, from the very front, it's like 100 yards to hit it on. From the very back, it can play almost 200 yards. I think it is over 200 yards from the skins tee. But it's all water. This is known as Tiger's Waterloo. When he played in the skins game, he hit it in the water, and that was it. He was done. The whole idea is you've had 16 holes to figure out how to hit a golf ball. When you get to this hole, you got to be able to clear the water, people. I often thought I should take a whole bunch of old balls and just put them over here and say. But in any event, it is a penal hole. It's a beautiful hole. It is our homage, if you will, to the 17th hole, sitting over where Lee Trevino made his hole-in-one to say, guys, there is no bailout other than to put it in this bunker over here or to aim at it. And there is an area to aim at it or to go long, but there's a big mound behind there. Let's hit it over the water. There you go. And that's Steve Cherry's house. It's been hit more than any other house in our property. He holds the record. Don't expect your ball back. It's a beautiful, beautiful hole. And again, it plays different length, and you can miss over here. So many people just keep trying this way, but if you're a little bit weak in your game, forget it. Just hit it over here, pitch it on, make your putt, and you get a 3. And here we get the broad vista of north looking across at our signature final hole. Again, it's a par 5 hole. The lake really doesn't come into play because the teeing ground is right beside it. But this is, again, an aiming bunker, and this is a playing bunker. If you hit it down here, it'll catch the chute, go right down this hill. But if you aim it over here, you're still going to be fine to play a little layup. If you go for 2, this bunker, which again is well short of the green, can catch your ball and make it a very difficult shot, and you'll find another deep one on the left as well. So it really discourages you from trying to hit it in 2, though I know some people that do. All right, let's see what our dramatic 18 looks like. And there it is, up, across and down the hill, and then back up to the hill. If you hit it too far, it'll go over into the water, but it's really a bit of a distance, and there's a little plateau behind it. Okay. Just gorgeous. The runoff on this side, the runoff to the back, the runoff this way. All coming out of Scottish notions of golf. Thank you. Thank you. Thank Dennis. I mean, he's the one who shot all those wonderful things for us.
Thank you, Ed. You know, I remember the comparative shots that we saw earlier on that Blue Star shot, and we took 7 or 8 different companies out to look at the golf course and get their opinion. It was so sad. It was just weeds everywhere. We never thought we'd ever be able to bring it back. And, you know, it's back. What Ed was talking about, we worked with Gary Brawley. He was very open to our ideas and suggestions, having played the course for 15 years myself. Removing trees, adjusting bunkers, separating some bunkers. There were some that were a large bunker. We broke them in 2. We added some other bunkers. We took other ones out. As Ed said, we took out about 75 trees. The course is in fantastic condition. And just an announcement for the restaurant, it's coming. We just passed the health inspection today. Still to come is the final building inspection. Fire marshal's got to do a couple of quick things. So we'll find out. We have more announcements to come from Blue Star on that, but we are working every day on trying to get the restaurant up and running as well. So again, we're going to have a town hall March 20th. We're going to revamp, we'll go over everything that's happened with the golf course and the restaurant. Costs, everything you saw there costs money. But I think we brought it back even better than ever. So thank you, Ed. Hand for Ed Smilow. Great presentation. And thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day.